following program is sponsored by PokerStars.com. Previously on the big game, wealthy amateur and well-known whale Guy Laliberte splashed around in the deep end and came up with chips.
Sometime I have it, sometime I don't.
Loose cannon Carrie Burchell got poker pro Jason Mercier to guess wrong.
That is a little too much. Darn, I'm gonna fold.
I don't know how you could fold there.
I'm gonna look like the genius, you're gonna look like the idiot if she has aces.
I'd like to see the TV show where you look like a genius and I look like an idiot.
And 2010 main event champion Jonathan Duhamel also got a message from the cannon.
Wow.
I think that sends a message a little bit, right?
This loose cannon had an incredible up and down session. Will she continue to keep these seasoned veterans guessing? Find out tonight on the big game.
Whoops.
This is PokerStars.com Big Game.
Hello and welcome to the big game from Las Vegas, Nevada. Alongside Joe Stapleton, I'm Scott Huff, and tonight there's over $850,000 in cash on the table as some of the top players in the world have come to battle it out in our state-of-the-art poker room.
Jason Mercier may be smiling, but he's stuck 40 dimes and also getting smashed by me in Words with Friends, and that's no laughing matter.
Cirque du Soleil creator Guy Laliberte was a man of mystère on night one, bluffing his way to a profit of almost 20 grand.
Bob Voulgaris is a high-stakes cash game regular and NBA enthusiast. Look, you can see he's watching the game now. He's our big winner, up 42K.
Eugene Katchalov, born in Ukraine, raised in Brooklyn, feared in Las Vegas. He's down $4,500.
This is our loose cannon, 29-year-old Carrie Burchell. Last night we learned about her being born with a hole in her heart. She's conquered her health issues and has played fearlessly so far. She's currently up over 20 grand.
Our remaining player is the 23-year-old 2010 World Series of Poker main event champion Jonathan Duhamel, and he's standing by with Amanda Leatherman.
Jonathan, you won the World Series of Poker main event, and now you're here playing this in the big game. How does the pressure compare?
Well, this is tough because, I mean, you're playing your own money, so you don't want to lose like a couple of $100,000, and because you're on TV and stuff, you don't want to like stupid and do like bad decision. So it's kind of tough. It's different pressure, but it's a lot of fun.
I've noticed you've been tangling a lot with our loose cannon. How do you think she's playing?
She is playing very good, actually. I've been cut a couple of times, you know, trying to do the big bluff, and she cut me, so I got to rethink my game. It's quite tough, but you know, I got some tricks in my pocket, so I'm ready to go back there.
And it's good you're on her left.
Yeah, exactly.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Here's another look at the loose cannon rules. Each cannon is staked $100,000 to play. They keep all winnings above the initial $100K, and the loose cannon, who's won the most money at season's end, earns a North American Poker Tour passport worth $50,000.
Right now, the loose cannon to beat is Massimiliano Martinez. Originally, I thought Carrie had no shot, but she showed us last night she ain't scared to get the money in there.
Definitely not. She had a roller coaster night, up and down, bluffed off some money, made a hero call, but regardless, she was in there and mixing it up all night long.
Action will start on Carrie.
With 6-4 offsuit. Folds. Duhamel out. Jason Mercier, 9 deuce. Lets it go. Guy's already looked at his hand.
That's on me.
Have you even looked yet?
Have you looked yet?
He looked.
He gets so excited. As soon as he gets his cards, he has to look right away. It's like Christmas. Is it Christmas Day yet? Can I open the present?
We are talking about a guy who wore a clown nose in space. Google it.
Guy raises to 1,400. Bob out. Eugene Katchalov with a real hand, a couple of 7s, makes the call. Heads up to the flop on the first hand of the night. For ace-jack.
Both miss. Eugene with the best hand.
Checks.
Guy missed about as hard as one can miss.
But he's going to bet it anyway, 2,800. And Katchalov folds.
Gets him to lay down the best hand.
No contest.
Not really. Not much to chase.
Chase. This guy. Chase.
As Guy takes down the first hand of the night, let's go over the rules of the big game. Each table lasts exactly 150 hands. The action pre-flop is pot limit and becomes no limit after the flop. Blinds are 2 and 400 with a $100 ante, all of which is paid by the player on the button. And every player begins with at least 100,000 but can rebuy for up to 500K.
The big rule change this season is that our loose cannon cannot come back after they've played the week's 150 hands.
The action this time will start on Jason Mercier. 6 tray. Folds. Laliberte out. Action on Bob. Joe, Bob once promised me if he won a World Series of Poker bracelet, he would give it to me because he didn't care about the title, just the money.
Guess he hasn't had a chance to welch on that yet.
He folds over to Eugene.
Unopened and on the button.
Katchalov raises to 1,200.
Interesting fact about Eugene, I was talking to his girlfriend in the green room, and apparently he's got a shoe buying problem. He's obsessed with buying sneakers. He's such a Samantha.
And Kerry folds over to Duhamel with 10-6 of diamonds. He re-raises to 4,200. The champ is here.
Obviously has a great read on Katchalov, knows he has him dominated. You know what else Eugene's girlfriend told me? He's a little OCD and he loves apples.
What is there, a nail salon backstage?
Manny Petty for the win.
10-6 for the win.
Main event champ makes a dead-on read. You, sir, you have 10-5. I've got 10-6. Let's light this candle.
I mean, I could just call and see what happens. I had position. But I don't know. I was like, why? I could do a lot with 30,000. I was thinking in my head. I was like, I could take a trip to like Fiji with like, you know.
Is that what you think when you play poker?
I think about that with everything. When I bet on sports, I think about that too. Like I lose like whatever, and I'm like, oh, I could have bought a lot of art. I could have bought like a lot of stuff with that.
Laliberte folds.
Very interesting. So every hand you're in, you evaluate if you pay
Not
yourself
every
a
hand. If
vacation
it's a certain threshold.
Action folds around to the cannon with 9-8.
No, it's not like if I lose $5, I'm like, oh, it's a Subway, it's a foot long. I don't think like that.
Bob's more of a Quiznos guy.
Burchell raises to 1,300. Duhamel, speed limit.
Duhamel will be playing his pair out of position.
Calls the 1,100. Mercier quickly out.
Not sure why Jonathan didn't 3-bet pre-flop. Could be that he doesn't give Kerry credit for being able to raise or button this wide.
4 Jack King on the flop. Duhamel checks.
Not a great flop for 2 5s, but Duhamel is ahead.
And these two tangled on night 1. Kerry reaching for chips again. Fires out 2,300.
Kerry ate Jonathan's lunch last night. He might be a little gun shy.
Lets it go. And Burchell's going to drag a small pot with just a little continuation bet there.
I think Kerry surprised everyone last night, especially Duhamel, when she made a pretty thin call and picked off a bluff. And in general, she's been firing nonstop. You know, I got a good mind to rename Kerry. I'm thinking more like Tenacious C.
The action will start here on Duhamel, the 2010 main event champ with Jack 7 of spades.
Duhamel folds a pair on the last flop, then all of a sudden comes out swinging with a piece of cheese. Even world champs tilt.
He makes it 1,400. Mercier, his spade's in bad shape, makes the call with 10-8. Ace-6 for Guy. Folds. Bob. Ace rag. He's played pretty tight so far. Lets it go. Eugene with 9. Queen. He'll let it go. Over to Kerry. With Jack 10.
A fine hand to defend with.
And she does.
Kerry's actually got both her opponents dominated.
Flop 6-7 king.
Check.
Duhamel hits a pair.
Big whiff for Burchell.
Who's checked over to Duhamel.
Duhamel has paired his live card, and he was the pre-flop aggressor.
His chance to c-bet fires out 3,400.
Mercier's got a gut shot.
And raises to 10,300.
Sort of a semi-bluff with his gut shot.
Burchell out, and now on Duhamel, who has a gut check.
So in general, Jason would mostly be raising his strong hands and his draws, and middle pair isn't doing all that well in either case.
Duhamel folds.
You think Duhamel's mad at the way Jason pronounces his name? Sellout.
Mercier takes that one down with a nice bet. And though we've yet to see a river card tonight, I'm betting on some serious showdowns in our future. Don't go anywhere. Big game's just getting started. Welcome back to Las Vegas and the big game. Tonight we've got over 850 grand in cash on the table as the action this time will begin on billionaire Guy Laliberte.
What do you drive?
Looks down at 10-7 offsuit.
He hears that up, down, side-to-side music. He
Folds.
already gets ready to look at the TV.
Bob. King deuce.
Yeah, he hates it.
Folds. Eugene Katchalov with the king 5. Folds, as does Kerry. Ace 8 for the champ.
Raise, especially small or big.
Raises to 1600. Mercier, ace 10 of diamonds.
Usually this is a spot for a re-raise.
He just calls.
Decepticon move. Also, Jason probably wouldn't want to call a 4-bet with it, and ace-10 suited does play pretty well in position.
7-4-7. Duhamel does not catch up.
Duhamel had the pre-flop lead. Let's see if he wants to keep it.
Checks.
Jason's in position and knows it's fairly likely that he has the best hand.
And Mercier bets out 2100.
Duhamel's likely to think his ace-high is good as well. That's why it's a cold deck.
And Jonathan calls. We'll see a turn. 5 of diamonds.
Both pick up draws. Duhamel a gut shot.
Checks.
Mercier's picked up a flush draw.
And checks behind. River, queen of hearts.
Changes nothing.
Check, check.
Yes, sir.
Jason wins.
Oh, my little 10-7.
What was that noise? Guess Guy would have made trips. Guh, 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 guh.
And Mercier wins with the ace high.
Should have gone for 3 streets.
Yeah.
So the 10 plays for the 24-year-old phenom.
I know, right?
And though it hasn't come naturally for him, Jason Mercier has been learning to play the part of a young poker superstar.
Doing interviews isn't really that difficult. It's just like, I don't know, kind of annoying sometimes. I mean, I definitely enjoy doing interviews.
You just said you didn't.
Sorry. Okay. Let me think about this. I'm just totally freestyling shit anyway. I probably wouldn't do as many interviews as I do if I didn't have to, but I know that it's what I need to do now. It's part of the job, and you know, I just put my head down and do it even if I don't feel like it.
You hear the talk. Surely as if he
Queen 10-8.
You know, doing commercials, I think I actually don't like doing that a little worse than doing interviews. In commercials, a lot of times you're just doing the same thing over and over and doing multiple takes, and I really don't enjoy that. But you know, I know that I need to do that, and it's part of the job. I don't feel like I'm selling out at all. You know, like all the top players are pretty much sponsored, and that's how you promote yourself and make yourself more well-known to the public and everything, and just better for your career. You know, I just prefer to be playing. You know, I really just enjoy playing poker, and the other stuff isn't as easy for me. Knocked it out of the park.
You know who really loves hearing about all those grueling interviews and commercials? Coal miners and air traffic controllers.
So you have to straddle then. Eugene's got to straddle. That was the bet.
You want to start it, Eugene?
Are we straddling?
Straddle if you
We can
want.
do a round if everyone agrees.
Sure.
I mean, we know Jonathan's gonna do it.
Jonathan's good for it. Jonathan still got that.
He just won like, you know, 81 million or whatever it was.
More like 82 million. Yeah.
It was under 9 million, but that goes way down after taxes and ATM fees.
Speaking of 82, Burchell folds hers over to Duhamel. 8-5.
He was getting at least 900,000 or something.
Out.
Yeah. Yeah, they gave you already. Yeah.
All players were paid 9th place cash the day they reached the final table. A little walking around money.
Mercier on the button with ace-8. Raises to 2,700.
Over to the guy who's so rich he summers in space.
Calls 2,500.
Seriously, he went to space as a tourist.
Ace-5 for Bob.
Bob with another weak ace.
And folds. Katchalov with 6 tray.
He straddled this hand.
And calls.
All right, look at that. 2 guys with 6 tray. I love poker. How much you want to bet these 2 pieces of cheese out flop ace-8? Haha.
Trade deuce 4 rainbow. Bob would have hit a straight.
I check.
Eugene. Katchalov fires 4,000. Mercier out.
Eugene has donked it. Katchalov's the slight favorite for the outright win because he can hit a backdoor flush, otherwise known as free rolling clubs.
Guy made the call. Turn, king of spades. Guy checks.
Let's see if Eugene wants to summon the power of Grayskull. I mean position. Betting into a billionaire can be scary, though.
Bet 6,000.
Club flush no longer possible. These guys will chop it as long as no one folds.
Guy makes the call. River. 10 of diamonds. And Guy checks.
No way to value bet this.
And Katchalov checks.
A pair.
It's no good.
As soon as that flop came out, I was like, oh, I know Eugene's leading. This is like notorious board for Eugene to donk lead in a sandwich when he's sandwiched. It's like, no way he's not betting. I was like, yep.
I had the free roll.
Young Jason Mercier has indeed picked up on Katchalov's donk leading, or donk betting as we call it here in the big game. This stat basically tracks when a player bets into the pre-flop razor rather than playing in flow. And as Jason so politely pointed out, Eugene Katchalov is the only player to employ this strategy so far this week. And remember, when the amateurs do it, it's bad. When the pros do it, it's strategy.
But so far, it hasn't cost Eugene much. He's only down about 6 grand. Right now, our loose cannon has straddled, so action will start on Duhamel, the 2010 main event champion. 10-4 of spades. Folding.
By the way, the loose cannon straddling, totally baller.
Pocket 6s for Mercier. And he'll call.
Yet another thing I would criticize typically, but since it's Jason Mercier, he's balancing his range.
Laliberte calls. King 4 of diamonds for Bob.
Bob's played pretty snug, but he's getting a good price.
Bob completes, as does Eugene.
What is this, a community pile?
Rochelle with ace-deuce.
All right, let's rock.
Pretty standard spot for a check. You don't want to bloat the pot with the worst ace possible. Jason's got the best hand with a pair of 6s. Poor Eugene's dominated in 2 spots.
8, ace 4, a couple of spades. Now everyone has at least a pair.
Carry flop top pair and is a sizable favorite 5 ways.
Bob checks bottom pair.
Eugene hit middle pair, but as I mentioned, he's dominated.
Bets 2,000 anyway.
Not a donk bet because there was no pre-flop aggressor.
Rochelle calls.
I mean, I'm screaming I have a hand, you know?
Oh man, let it go.
Mercier folds, Laliberte calls.
Bob, what to do with bottom pair?
Bob folds.
And between Carey and Guy, they have Eugene drawing nearly dead.
Turn, king of spades. Joe, you know those nights where you feel like you should never fold?
Uh-huh.
This is one of those nights.
Well, I won't.
For Bob. Would have made 2 pair. Action checks to Guy, who checks it. River. 5 of hearts, brick.
Carey's got this locked up as long as she doesn't fold.
Katchalov checks over to Burchell, who checks to Guy.
8. Me too.
Ace.
Ace good.
Why always have the same hand?
Probably.
They were the same hand. They were both the losers.
So while Guy and Eugene laugh it up playing middle pair, our loose cannon is laughing her way to the bank. Will it continue? Find out when we get back. Plenty more big game on the way.
Guy is probably the one I know the most at the table. We've played a couple of times together, like some, private games and stuff. He's tough to play against, to be honest. You got to be careful with him. Like, for sure, he's got a bunch of money and stuff, but he's dangerous.
It's very tough to play poker with someone who's been in space. I mean, it's like, how do you prepare for that? The guy's been in space.
This is a shot of Guy from 2009 in his astronaut suit. 6 months of training led to 12 days in the International Space Station at an estimated cost of $35 million.
35 million. I sure hope that 8x10 also came with a couple of wallets and a keychain.
I remember the one time you guys busted me. I went up to my room and I forgot my jacket or something, so you didn't know that I was coming back right away. And I came back and everyone's high-fiving Guy because Guy busted me. It was like, it was like the most. You remember that hand? It's the original chaser right here, by the way. This is the original chaser.
Burchell out. Duhamel folds. Action on Jason Mercier.
Unopened button.
10 deuce of hearts.
There's no straddle?
Eugene, you're supposed to straddle.
Raises to 1,200 with the Doyle. Ace jack of spades for Guy.
Definitely a 3-betting spot against Mercier.
Guy just calls. 5-4 for Bob.
The swings were...
They were really ridiculous.
The swings were so huge.
Calls out of the big blind.
Let's see if Guy's high-fiving anyone after this hand.
To the flop. Deuce, deuce, 10, 2 clubs. Mercier flops the Doyle dinghy.
What's it like, Jason? What is it like?
Laliberte checks. Bob checks. Mercier with his full boat.
Typically, Jason should bet here and try to get no credit for an on-the-button C-bet.
Fires out 2,300.
If Jason were betting total air, Guy's hand might be good some of the time. As it stands, he's dead to running aces or jacks.
He's a tough guy to play.
Guy calls. Bob folds.
Jason, the slight favorite as we head to the turn.
Oh, I've seen worse. 6 of spades. Guy picks up a flush draw that can only hurt him. He checks.
Jason continues to run good even after making a hand. He is flush proof.
How much will he bet? 6,100.
Given that there's still a shot his hand could be good already, Guy pretty much has to call with a nut flush draw.
And he will make the call.
Despite what he thinks, Guy definitely does not want to see a spade.
Jack of diamonds on the end.
Also not good for Guy.
Makes a pair and checks.
Guy didn't hit his flush, but he caught something, so Jason can probably still get 3 streets of value, but only if the price is right. Jason, how much is your bid? 7, 12, higher.
15,700, Bob.
Guy Laliberte, come on down. You're the next contestant on Value Town.
And Guy calls.
I was there. Good night.
Doyle Brunson.
And I got my jack at the end. 2 spades. Oh my God. The spades come. I get some.
That spade not coming is the worst beat I've ever seen Jason take. Better luck next time, buddy.
Drags a pot worth 52,400.
Guy's calling. Here's coming.
I didn't want it from you. I wanted Heralibus to have a deuce. Ace deuce.
Yeah. Could happen. Glad you're rooting for me, buddy. I mean, good luck trying to get this money.
He didn't have the best of it when those cards were turned over, and so far this week he's only won a quarter of the times he's shown his hand, which is still better than Jonathan Duhamel, who is rocking a goose egg when it comes to showing the goods. He's not once shown down a winner, but when the players in seats 1, 3, and 5 have tabled their hands, they've taken down the pot 100% of the time, which has to make their opponents think twice before firing or calling against them.
I'm glad I didn't re-raise with that jack.
I guess I wish I bet bigger if he had a jack.
Duhamel folds. Mercier with 7-3. He's out.
Yeah.
Ace-5 for Laliberte.
Like ace-10 or king-10.
Suited.
Raises to 1,400. 6 tray of spades for Bob.
Bob looks like he's widening his range a bit on the button.
Makes the call. Katchalov out. Carry with king-8 offsuit.
This would be a bit of a loose defend.
Takes a flyer, makes the call.
Well, we've got the 3 non-pros headed into the flop. Bob the most experienced and literally licking his lips.
6, 6, 7 trips for Bob. What'd I say about him not folding all night?
Check.
Burchell checks. Laliberte leads at it.
Guy's continuing with ace-high and some backdoor draws. Bob Voulgaris trips is trying to figure out if a raise in this spot will chase away all of his action.
And he's facing a $3,000 bet. And he does raise to 7,000. Burchell out.
Are they doing that to me?
Guy taking it personally. Nothing personal, Guy. I mean, when I have nightmares about fire-breathing acrobat clowns, I don't take it personally.
I'll re-raise.
He's going to repop it.
Oh, boy.
3 bets to 19,000.
Bob's got to consider that maybe Guy has a bigger 6, but my guess is that he's loving this.
What are you doing to me? What happened? 12? What to do?
Whether Bob's Hollywooding or not, this raise is pretty polarizing, so while I think his hand is too strong to fold, if he raises again, he'll chase away all Guy's bluffs and get action from hands that have him beat.
Opts to just make the call. To the turn. 5 of diamonds. Guy hits a pair. Bob adds a gut shot.
The board just got worse for trips, even though Bob's picked up that gut shot draw. Remember, Guy was the last aggressor.
Check.
Guy checks.
Guy's given up the lead. Let's see how Bob wants to handle it.
And Bob's going to check.
Gonna have to get his value on the river.
Which is the 4 of hearts. Bob makes a straight.
Guy's river to flush. draw. And now it looks like he's about to lead at this.
Big lead, $30,000 bet.
Just 2 chips. Is that all it is? I actually drew out in some ways. I improved my hand. It's probably a bad call.
Bob's hand improved, but I'm sure he'd rather it didn't. With the 4 cards straight out there, he's now handcuffed into either calling or folding.
You have like 2 8s. Feels like you have 2 8s. I guess if I didn't act like a moron, I could probably raise here. All right.
Bob makes the call.
Guy hesitant to show.
But he does. And either of Bob's cards is a winner.
I thought that's what you had when you said that, 6-3.
Well, I mean, yeah.
It's the only
Either
card.
that or you have,
the
like,
3.
He's 3.
Yeah. It's the 3 Gilman.
No, I mean, I do have 3 6s, by the way, on the flop.
No.
Okay.
But you don't call if you don't have the 3. Probably not.
I mean, I think my hand got worse.
Yeah, got worse, yeah.
Put the pressure on me every time. Oh, I got one of these ones. See, look.
Yeah,
right there.
Were you thinking about what you could do with 30,000?
No, I was thinking about how tough it is to get these money. And then if I lose, I think about how if I turn my head, people are gonna be high-fiving them. Like last time. Like last time I walked out the room with my tail between my legs. I lost like half my net worth in one hand. I come back and the whole room is high-fiving me. It was like a joke. Oh, I'm so glad you got his money. Oh, hey, buddy, what's going on?
Well, Bob is up over 90K, and that's no joke. We've got plenty more action right after this. Welcome back to Las Vegas and the big game, where it looks like Amanda Leatherman's on the move.
I'm gonna come sweat.
You're gonna come sweat.
Yeah. Can I sweat your hand?
Grab a seat.
Whose hand are you sweating?
Yours.
Mine, all right.
Before the cards get dealt, let's check in to see where everyone stands. Bob is up 92 grand, and our loose cannon carry is up almost 21K.
Mercier's up a little. Katchalov down 9,500, while Duhamel is stuck 41K. Billionaire Guy Laliberte is down 67 grand and has just added on another 100,000.
Right now, it's time for my favorite segment, the Couch Cannon Hand. This is where we all get to experience what it's like under the gun and in the hot seat from the eyes of our loose cannon.
Carrie's been playing great so far, so I'm predicting that no matter what happens, she'll be baller.
Well, this time the action's going to start on Bob.
For those of you who don't know, Amanda Leatherman is such a cooler. She's a must for any tailgate party.
The signals that he prefers.
So we won't know what Bob has.
Every time I raise under the gun, Eugene re-raises me.
And it doesn't matter, he folds.
Because there's so much money in there. So now
Katchalov's out, so a chance for the loose cannon to open the pot if she has a decent hand. King-Queen.
From the cutoff, she wouldn't even need a decent hand, but King-Queen's certainly good enough for a raise from any position.
And she does, makes it 1,800, gets the champ out of the way. Mercier in the small blind.
Still, it's all right.
Calls. Guy will come along.
Jason just called out of the small blind, and Guy just defended, so my guess is if anyone had anything really good, he would have 3-bet, especially Jason.
9 Queen Jack, a couple of hearts, top pair for Burchell.
Top pair with a gut shot draw, but this board is wetter than an airport bathroom, so likewise, I recommend she proceed with caution.
And the action checks back around to her.
Well, now that it's been checked to her, she's got top pair, she's in position, seems like an obvious spot for a bet. Maybe too obvious? No, just obvious enough. She should bet.
Makes it 5,600. Jason's out.
These guys have only seen Carrie showdown winners all week, and they know that she can make some pretty thin calls. So if Guy puts money into this pot with her, it's going to make my spidey sense go off just a little bit. It is Guy, though.
I don't know about spidey sense, Joe, but Guy looks a little bit like Lex Luthor. Makes the call.
This is a pretty wet board for just one pair. Let's take a look at the turn and see what sorts of draws come in.
10 of clubs. Carrie makes a straight.
Gutter ball. Carrie's hand is improved, but it's not the nuts.
Guy checks.
Even though it's not the nuts, Carrie's only behind to one hand, and I think maybe Guy would have 3-bet pre-flop if he had ace-king, so I think betting here is totally fine.
Here we go. Loose cannon action.
Loose cannon bets 11,100.
I like Carrie's bet. She's very likely to have the best hand. Guy hasn't called or folded just yet, which worries me a little bit. Typically when folks are on a draw, they'll call pretty quickly. Kerry should be getting a little bit more credit as an amateur for actually having a hand. Guy's a billionaire who just had to add on 100,000. It's possible he's considering a frustration call. Cirque du Soleil, more like Tank du Soleil.
I raise.
He's going to raise it.
I'm all in.
All in.
Yikes. All right, well, these guys know Kerry hasn't been afraid to get money in there, but this is the first time she's been put to the test for all of her chips. Guy has just ratcheted things up a notch and has put Kerry in a heck of a spot.
You got me covered, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
By about double.
I think sometimes Guy will turn up in this spot with ace-king, but not often enough to fold. The problem is that Kerry's hand isn't behind very often, but it's not ahead very often either. I think a king is a big part of Guy's range here, but suited kings are a possibility as well, so he could be free-rolling hearts or clubs. It looks like an easy call to make, but if Kerry calls and she's wrong or he somehow runs her down, it's over for her.
Hell of a hand I have there.
At the moment, she's being asked to risk 100K for what will most often only be half this pot.
I mean, I'm not really sure how I can put my hand down unless I can put you on ace-king. I call.
Burchell calls.
You call?
Gulp.
And Guy with king 10.
Phew. Guy flopped it, Kerry ran him down on the turn. It's a chop.
How many times you guys want to run it?
He puts the pressure on you, though.
The river won't matter. It's a chopped pot regardless.
I hope if he busted her, he would have at least hooked her up with some seats to Mystere.
I couldn't put him on ace-king right there anyways.
Nice hand.
Thank you, same to you.
You needed king 10 of hearts.
I know.
It's tough. You're calling for half the pot.
Kerry, can you breathe again?
Yes. Definitely.
Flop the straight.
Just needs to have 2 clubs or 2 hearts, and he's just like,
Ah, free roll for
See ya, Amanda. It was nice having you here. Way to create the action.
So after some self-talk, Kerry made the right move. And when we return, Bob Voulgaris lets us pick apart his poker brain. We'll explain when we get back.
Breathe, Kerry, breathe.
Welcome back to Las Vegas and the big game. Alongside Joe Stapleton, I'm Scott Huff. Earlier this evening, Bob Voulgaris played a huge pot for over 100 grand. What was he thinking? Find out as we take you behind the poker face.
So at this point, I think I was winning around 40,000 on the day, which is like, I mean, it's nice to be winning, but it's not really going to change the way I play in any way. Also at this point, I'm on the button in this hand, which is key because it's the Blues Cannon's big blind. So if there's 2 people at the table I'm kind of going out of my way to play pots with, it's definitely a Loose Cannon and maybe also Guy, although whatever, who knows. So I have 3-6 of spades, which is not a great hand, obviously. But I've noticed a couple other times earlier in the session, Guy was just kind of giving up on flops. So I feel like if he checks, I can just bet and just take down the pot there. If I raise, I'm raising with a really garbage hand to begin with, and I have no idea what Guy has, but I feel like I can get more information on the flop anyways. So I call, Eugene folds, and Loose Cannon calls, which is like perfect for me. The flop comes 6-6-7 rainbow. Loose Cannon checks. Guy leads out for 3,000. And my thoughts here, I don't really just want to call because I'm trying to build a pot. I'm pretty sure obviously I have the best hand. I also want to kind of gauge what type of hand Guy has. If he has a 6, I'm just like a better 6, I'm just going broke. I'm not folding to him in that flop ever in a million years. So I just put in like a little bit of a raise just to kind of see where he's at. Loose Cannon folds. Now Guy decides to like make it 19,000, which I'm not really sure what that means. I think in his mind, he's thinking I have to have like a really big hand, like a 6. or pocket sevens to really continue with the hand. And he's never putting me on a 6 just because me and Guy have a lot of history of playing games. The thing about Guy is he's got a lot of history playing games with me that are a lot higher stakes. And I definitely play a lot different in those games than I would play in this game. I feel like if I raise him here, he's gonna fold all his bad hands. And I might get the action from like the 2 aces and the 2 kings and the other stuff. But I feel like I'm gonna get that action on the turn anyways. But I like to get like one more street of information. So I call. So the turn comes a 5. He checked. And so now I feel like for sure he's got absolutely nothing. So I checked. Of course, the river's a 4, which is a card I really don't want to see. It gives me a straight, but it actually makes my hand a lot worse, I feel, obviously, because I have like the idiot end of a straight on a paired board. And he bets 30,000. Folding was never an option. So I call the river. He turns over ace-5, which was good news to me because he didn't have 2 8s and I had the winning hand. Against his range of hands, maybe I probably could have played it a little bit different on the flop. And maybe I could put like a little bet on the turn, have him like spaz out. But of course, that's with perfect information.
Guy had ace-5 there for a pair of 5s. Not good enough.
Badugi's the 4-card low hand, right?
Badugi, yeah, you have to have one of each suit is a Badugi.
Kerry, if you manage to walk away this week with a profit and afterwards Jason Mercier offers to teach you Badugi, run.
Duhamel, ace-king of diamonds. Raises to 1,400 like a champ.
Ha!
Mercier folds.
I see what you did.
Laliberte, queen-jack of hearts, makes the call.
That's funny.
Bob Voulgaris, pocket 8s. And you know what I always say, Joe? Never trust a guy in a hoodie with a pocket square.
You've literally never said that.
He makes the call, folds over to the cannon, 5-4. She lets it go.
We stand on guard for thee, calling all Canadians to the flop. Of course, no one has the Canadian hand, which is AA.
5-jack-4 rainbow. Cannon would have had 2 pair.
In fact, I'm going to call the rest of the hand with a Canadian accent.
Please don't.
Oh, brother, Kerry would have flopped 2 pair. Duhamel's got ace-king high. Sometimes that'll be the best hand in this spot, eh?
Duhamel, not check queen, bets 3,500.
Yeah, but Guy does have the best hand.
Calls 3,500. Are you really doing the whole hand like this?
Bob's a sorry Canadian. He lives in Hollywood. Sell out.
That was your best oat yet.
Duhamel's all like, what are you looking at me for, eh? And with a bet and a call out there, this can't be looking too good for Bob.
That's the universal language of folding. So now it's heads up between the 2 Canadians. This is how most hockey fights start. 7 of hearts on the turn. Duhamel with another checkwa.
Guy's picked up a flush draw as well, so my guess is he can probably try to start betting this.
He doesn't even have to. Duhamel folds. A little Canadian telepathy.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's enough.
So Guy takes that one down, and it looks like Duhamel used up all his run good in the main event. And Joe, it looks like you used up all your goodwill with Canadians.
Sorry.
We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to Las Vegas and the big game, where there's almost $1 million in cash up for grabs on the table. Action will start on our loose cannon, Kerry Burchell.
Who, by the way, is a baller.
You mentioned. She looks down at King 10. A hand she probably never wanted to see again. Raises to 1,700. Queen Jack offsuit. Duhamel makes the call.
Not supposed to hide your big chips.
Not everyone has big chips, Jason.
Jason folds.
Call.
Guy calls. 9 deuce for Bob. He folds.
I don't know. That's your guys' game.
Eugene? Didn't even realize he was here anymore.
Kerry's got solid equity in this 3-way pot.
Flop, trade jack 4, couple of spades. Top pair for the champ, Duhamel.
The cannon missed.
27.
She bets 2,700 anyway.
Never been one to be stopped by missing a flop. She's always good for a C-bet. Unfortunately, it ain't gonna work this time. Duhamel's got top pair.
And I think he kind of has it out for the cannon.
And Jason, I'll take a bottle of water if you're going.
And these two just can't seem to stay out of each other's way. Duhamel raises to 6,300. Guy folds.
This should be a pretty easy fold for Kerry with only king high, no spade, and only backdoor straight draws. Then again, if she 3-bets the pants off him, he'd probably lay it down.
But she doesn't.
Nice bet.
And Duhamel drags a 15K pot.
You could tell Carrie just hates laying hands down.
Pick on someone your own size there, Jonathan. Picking on the loose cannon like that.
She's picking on me, I think.
I'm not picking on you.
She saw you on TV. You're the mark at the table.
Well, he may not be the mark at the table, but Carrie might have noticed some things about how he's been playing. Duhamel's been a little tighter pre-flop than most of the table, and statistically, Carrie's C-bet on that last hand was a big favorite to take the pot down against Jonathan. He's folded the C-bets more than anyone else so far this week. If Duhamel keeps folding the C-bets, I'd expect the rest of the table to eventually take notice and capitalize. But I mean, come on, the guy's a world champion. Let's get off his back.
And Jason Mercier has returned to the table without Joe's water. Queen 10.
I am parched.
Raises to 1200. He folds. Bob with Queen 4. Lets it go. Katchalov out. Queen Jack for the cannon.
Big suited connectors.
Makes the call. Duhamel out.
Deja vu.
Didn't he just say that?
To the flop. 7-5-7, 2 spades.
I'm gonna check.
Carrie checks quickly.
Jason, the aggressor and in position.
C-bets 1900.
Boy, this would be an awfully loose float.
And she calls.
Let's see if she has a plan.
Turn. 6 of spades.
Check.
Checks again.
Will Mercier keep bullying the amateur? I'm sorry, attempt to keep bullying the amateur?
Looks like he will. And he bets 5,800.
Now, if Carrie were in fact floating to try to take it away in a later street, this would be a prime spot to do it. However, the loose cannons who don't fold in this spot are few and far between.
Raises to 13,000 and Jason insta-folds.
And Carrie is what, Scott?
Baller.
Nice hand, Carrie.
Thank you.
I would ask you to just show me a bluff, but it's impossible for you not to have the best hand.
Even when you win the pot, you still get ribbed. He's still trying to prove how better he is than you. He knows what you had after you lost. You beat me, but I know exactly what. But you couldn't do anything.
There's no way I could have won anyways. You have to have the best hand.
Yeah, it wasn't because you knew how to play poker. It was just because that's like living in Jason Mercier's shoes for a little while.
I got on here by accident.
That's what happens when you win a couple tournaments and you're like 22 or 23. You walk around. Yeah, you won, but it was clearly because God favors you. Not because you know how to play. Congratulations for being the chosen one.
I'm sorry.
Carrie did technically have the best hand, but it was still baller.
Well, the chosen one is one of our 2 winners so far. Carries up 26 dimes while Bob is killing the game for 87 grand.
Everyone else is down. Mercier for 7,200, Katchalov for 13 grand, and Duhamel for over 35,000.
And our big loser so far, billionaire Guy Laliberte, but somehow I think he's not too worried about being stuck.
Carrie, 2 nights down. You're playing with some of the best players in the world. How you feeling?
I'm actually feeling great. I'm having a great time. I have a great table, so, and I'm not down.
Are you nervous at all?
No.
You don't look nervous at all. Guy, you're bringing lots of action to the table.
Well, I'm here to play and gamble, and
We
having fun.
assumed you would.
And I'm doing it.
All right, guys, that's it for tonight. I'm Amanda Leatherman saying goodbye for now. And remember, if you've got the cash and the guts, there's always a seat open at the big game. Good night.
The Bob and Carrie Show, playing at least a 2-night engagement in Vegas. Will they go dark? Find out tomorrow. For Stapes, this is Huff saying, ship it!
We are going to call you Action Guy. Is that all right?
Action Yi. Whatever.
He said, whatever.
Whatever.
You should have said, you know what she should have said when she said you create a lot of action? You said,
Hey.
listen, I've been in space,
Big
okay? I've been in space. What do you want from me?
Hey.
5-minute break?
Hey,
Yeah.
are you going to get...
Don't put your hands on my again like that. I'm gonna call security.
Got makeup. We got
I know. I just did my hair.
The preceding program was sponsored by PokerStars.com.